This is AI Marketing Experts, where bold marketers and next-gen AI collide. Each week, join us as we decode trends, test tools, and share real wins from the AI-powered front lines. No fluff, no hype, just straight talk and smarter marketing. Tap subscribe, and let's geek out on AI.
Welcome, everyone, to the AI Marketing Experts podcast. I'm Jen with Type B Studio. I'm here with my 4 colleagues, all ready to nerd out on AI and how we're using it for our businesses and how you can use it for yours. So we have a couple things that we're going to go over today. Gemini and NotebookLM. Brad is going to walk us through that, how you can integrate those platforms into your business to really give your business superpowers. And then we're going to go over to Chris. He's going to show us Manus and how he's using Manus to create actually a brand guide like right this very minute. Okay, so on that, I'm just going to open up. Brad, do you want to start?
Heck yeah, I do. Hey, Jen. Hey, everybody. Nice to see y'all. It's snowing like crazy. I can't even see across the street here in Colorado.
Awesome.
Last week yesterday I was in Miami where it was 78 degrees. I was in my shorts. So just trying to get back in the flow here, but super excited to go over some cool stuff. If you haven't already looked at the power of Google Gemini and Google NotebookLM, which all tie into either your personal Google account or, and most business cases, into your Workspace account, because a large majority of businesses that don't use Outlook, for example, use Google to manage their email, their docs, their sheets, their drive, all those good things. So now with how things are quickly advancing, Google Gemini is baked right into a lot of those things. And we're going to really focus on NotebookLM, which is just a sub piece of this all. Now, I'm going to do a little screen share. I'm going to keep it straightforward today because it is coming in super hot right now as far as what's getting updated on a consistent basis with some of these systems, and also how you can really automate and use agentic systems that are built right into Google now. I don't know that it's quite perfect yet, but it is coming in so quickly, and they are perfecting it very fast that I think truly they're a contender compared to, a lot of the other AI systems, LLMs. I think that they're giving ChatGPT a run for their money, Claude, some of these other ones. I mean, they all kind of have their strengths and weaknesses, right? And as we know, this week, a lot of them had new updates and new versions and the latest and greatest. So with that, let me pop open my magic screen here. Let's see what I got.
And while you're pulling that up, Brad, just for the folks on the call that go even deeper and geekier and stuff like that, you're mentioning Google jumping ahead. And we've been talking about Google a lot, jumping ahead in this stuff. They just opened up their command line interface, CLI, for you guys that know the acronym, like 1 day ago, 2 days ago, whatever, so it allows you to connect things like every Google tool you want. So you can connect your Google browser, your Google Drive, your Google Calendar, all that kind of stuff, to things like OpenClaw, to Claude Code, to all the stuff that Chris and I have been talking about as well. And now Google allows that MCP server layer to be brought into all of these tools, and that's brand new because they're trying to stay relevant for being somewhat tool agnostic. So things like Notebook can be brought into that as well now, just as a note.
That's right. I mean, on the advanced side, there's CLI, there's anti-gravity. These are all things in Google. They just announced yesterday that you're going to be able to create cinematic type videos through Gemini, as long as you're on their $250 a month plan, which most people aren't. But that's all coming. It keeps changing. Can you guys see my screen? I'm not at home, so I don't have 15 screens open.
Yep.
Where do you want to start? Yep.
Can you see Gemini? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So most people, if you haven't already figured it out, Gemini.google.com is probably the most common way to get over to Gemini. However, now you have this little button up here in your Chrome browser. If you don't, make sure you get the latest version of Chrome. Then now you can talk to your tabs or tab. So that's a different way to go to Gemini. So within Gemini, there are a couple different pieces here. This is kind of where most people start. Most people that are familiar with ChatGPT, this is just a very simple, straightforward, comparable version to ChatGPT, except for it lives in Google, right? And I think that some of the things that they have now, Nano Banana being one, is very powerful. They just put out Nano Banana 2.0. So this is for creating images. There's other pieces we talked about briefly, whether it's creating videos, now you can create music, blah, 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 blah. But before we go too much deeper into just Gemini in and of itself, if you were to go to NotebookLM, Lima Mike.google.com, notebooklm.google.com, and this is what it's going to look like. Of course, I have notebooks populated in here, right? So a notebook, the way I think of it, and honestly, I want to say a year ago or so when this was becoming more well-known, I looked at it and I'm like, I don't know. I can't see what it would do for me. Well, I couldn't see what it would do for my business. It wasn't there for me yet, but now it has gone light years ahead, right? So for example, if we open up a notebook, you're going to see a few extra pieces in here in mine because I have some extra extensions in here that we're not going to go into. So you might not see all of this stuff here. You're definitely not going to see this. But the nuts and bolts of this, I think, is very straightforward. Meaning this area over here is called the sources, right? This is where you're going to put any sort of documents, any sort of PDFs, any sort of links, websites, YouTube videos. So think of this. Let's just talk about it in this form. This is one of my companies, right? So I am creating a source area here, or a brain, or a brand, or whatever you want to call it, for all of my information over here. Everything that I want about this particular company, right? So if you have multiple clients or you have multiple interests, whatever it is, this is where you're centralizing it, right? So all you want to do, if you need to put a new source, you just say add source. And then from there, again, you can upload files. So it could be images, even video. It could be raw video. It could be documents. We talked about all that. And then literally you put it in there. Once you put in that information, now it's over here in your source list. Your source list by default is all checked over here. So whatever you do when you get to the chat area in the center, which we'll talk about in a second, is going to pull from every single document that you have here. However, if you're going to talk about something or create something, which we'll get into, and you only want to talk about the latest 5 videos you did or whatever, you can uncheck these, right? You can make sure that it's only going to know specifics of what you are trying to engage with, right? So the middle part is the chat. So the chat is a conversation, right? So just like ChatGPT, or just raw Gemini or Claude or any of the other ones, you're literally going to talk to it here. You're going to ask it information to answer questions, to create things, whatever it is, based on what's in your sources, right? So if we were to go all the way back up to an example one, it'll usually give you, some examples, so obviously you can pick their pre-made ones, or you can put in specific information that you're wanting to learn about, or you're wanting to strategize or mastermind with your own little brain over here, right? Does that make sense so far, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think even from there, it gets even crazier, because now when you have all of this information in here, which you can add to anytime you want, you can delete it, whatever you want, you can now, you have the option over here to do all these different things to create, right? So you can create infographics, you can create mind maps, slide decks, audio overview, video overview, reports, and on and on and on, right? And then I'll show you some examples. But the cool thing that it keeps doing and getting better is now you can click on the little pencil, and then you can give it more concise information of what you're wanting to create. So, for example, you can change the language. You could change, in this case, we're doing infographic. If I'd rather have a square infographic than a portrait, I can do that. Landscape. Here is the level of detail. You have to remember on an infographic, you don't want to get too super detailed, because it's going to be, the text is going to be kind of small, especially if you're sharing it on social media or something. So think about it this way: infographics are good for blog posts. They're good for social posts. They're good to put in a presentation. They're good to even print out and show somebody. I mean, there's many different ways you could do things with infographics. We all pretty much know what a slide deck is. Think of PowerPoint or Canva or whatever you use for Google Slides. So that's the slide deck. These other parts here are rapidly moving as well, where you can then ask it to create an audio overview. You can ask it to create a video overview. Again, if you click your pencil, you now have more options. And what I'm seeing on a consistent basis is they keep expanding this. They keep making this more intuitive and more user-friendly and more powerful. So I'm not going to go too super deep on audio and video overviews, but now I just noticed the video overview does not have a pencil yet. All the rest of the guys have pencils. Oh, and Mind Map doesn't. So they need to get a pencil up in there, right? I did hear, like I said earlier, they are rolling out the cinematic videos, and that's going to tie into VO3 and blah, 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 blah. But that's going to all tie into this, I'm certain. So then, for example, here's just some output, right? So if I were to look at some of these, we won't go through them all, but you can, real quick, you can create a blog post from here if you go into the reports. So even though there's not a pencil, when I go to reports, I could then pick, there's the pencil. I can go into blog posts, and then from there, I can give it more details. So study guide, briefing doc, there's a lot of information there, right? So that's what's happening here, and I forgot. So when you're in the video overview, you have more features here, and that's where some of these new ones are coming into play. Anime and different ones I know are brand new. So if you were going to test out some video stuff, you do have limits, okay? So depending on what plan you're on, if you're in Google Workspace, a lot of people are just on the starter plan. So you're going to have some limitations of how much you can produce per day. So I know for us, we upgraded one of our accounts to standard in Workspace. So it costs a little bit more, but it's still pretty inexpensive. Maybe $5 more a month, $6-8 more per month per user. So if you have 40 users, 40 team members on your Google Workspace account, my recommendation would be to create maybe another Google Workspace account that only has 1 or 2 users, because you can't just upgrade one person on your team to have the rockstar status as far as the higher plan. You have to upgrade everybody. So that's a limitation, I think. But of course, they want to make money, right? So in closing, we'll kind of wrap up here in a minute, but here would be an example of what it creates for a slide deck, right?
So good.
Isn't it good, right? I mean, I didn't even really put a prompt. It's just coming off of my content, right?
Yeah.
So you can see here what this is producing at a really high level. Now, the thing is, too, is you can edit these now. There's a couple different hacks on how to do that. Revise is the new feature right here. So if I were to go to revise, you can then go in and talk to it of, hey, center this up, change this word, change this logo. What I've been told is you want to go through and do them all before you hit the go button. So make the revisions on all of them before you hit the go. And like I say, I believe there's some other ways you can download it out of here and download it as a PDF, upload it into PowerPoint, blah, 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 blah. But I think that it will soon be where you just, because Google owns Google Slides, it's a no-brainer that it's coming there soon. Okay, yeah. So there's that one. And then so this one is an infographic. So again, rockstar status. If you had to do this a year ago and you were going to do this by hand in Canva or in Photoshop or whatever your tool you use, this would take a long time. This would take you or a team member a long time to create, right?
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of different things here that you can do, the mind maps and different things. So I'm just going to move on. So the next part that I think is important is,
I just want to point out really quick what I really love about NotebookLM, and I was just reminded as you're sharing your screen here, is that it makes it so clear what the source documents are. It's
Yes.
right there. And
Yeah.
I love Claude and ChatGPT, but like with both of those, the source documents, they're kind of they're just kind of hidden a little bit, like not intentionally. They're just not in your face like these are. And I just love it that these are so clear.
That's exactly right.
That's a great
And
point.
you can add notes in here too. You can pull notes in. So if you were to create here, like if I wanted to, this last chat, it's pretty long. If I wanted to pull that into a note, I could then save it to note. Then I could add it over here. I could even add it over here. Were you going to say something else? Somebody else?
I was just gonna say I love the so remember the old days of of AI like 6 months ago when it couldn't spell on graphics? Like the old, and now it's like a typo is like, oh, you did something, like it's hard, you can't find it. It's like I just remember.
Yes. Good point.
I know.
And Brad, before you move on, I just also want to kind of reiterate too regarding your sources. That's the thing too. I think that our listeners and our audience can appreciate. These are curated items. So instead of, one of the big recommendations that we would make is don't just go, it will obviously offer up sources, but you want to curate, pull in the best of the best that you want in there. So don't just say, please find me sources. That it seems to be what everybody started with. But if you can bring in items that they're trusted sources, they're what will get you to where you want to be, to, as you demonstrated, the elements for your business. That's a big, big plus with this. It's not just going out training. Then the other thing regarding the slides, I know you said that it will make changes. To your point, you have to kind of revise all of them. But one hack would be to hit the 3 dots, download them as, when you're on the slide presentation, download them as a PDF, and then you can actually use the free converter. If you are very accustomed to using Canva, you can use a PDF to PPT converter, and that gives you a lot of flexibilities within Canva. So I think that a lot of audience members that are used to using Canva now, that opens that editing up way. I mean, it's now unlimited.
That means they're built in layers, Laura? Like when you do PDF to PPT, that when you move it into Canva, is it layered? Do you have things you can move around?
You can. Well, not right away. You would actually have to highlight and say, we want the text, and then you're able to move the text.
Okay,
or
cool.
you're able to highlight and say, remove the background. So it just gives you a lot more things, especially to Brad's point, even with the revise button, that gives you the ability, but you're still running the risk of it changing the entire look. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted. So to his point, we feel that slides are coming sooner than later, but knowing now that we can bring it down and back up in Canva gives you just one more way to hack it.
That's exactly right. I'm glad you guys chimed in, because there's a lot in here, and that's the thing. It's changing so quickly, even for us geeks that are in here all the time. It's a little daunting, just because, like, okay, what's new? How do I do that again? But that's why we try to simplify it and show you guys, how this could be pulled into your business.
And please remind the audience that if they are syncing or if they're using a Google Doc, it just takes a snapshot of when you've added it as a source. You do need to sync it. So if you're using it for meeting agendas or notes and such with multiple tabs, which is a great way to keep your sources a lower number, but you do need to sync it so that it brings in the latest for those Google Docs.
Huge. That's a huge one. If you see my mouse, you just highlight up here under the sync. It will sync all the Google Doc sources. So this is just a quick one we did where we used the feature to create a blog post. So again, this portion here is an add-on. So if you want to check that one out, Cortex, that's a paid, I think they might have a free version. That's a notebook extension, Google extension. So, but still, you could just go here and copy. There's a lot of different ways you could get out of here. But on the other piece, kind of in closing, is when you're in Gemini now, and you are putting in your you're putting in here, let's just say, write a blog post about AI for. You guys talk to yourself when you type?
Of course.
Sometimes, yeah.
Who types anymore?
I know. That's the thing. I don't type anymore. I just use my whisper flow. All right. So if you were to write a super, super dumb, simple prompt like that, the first piece is you can now bring in your notebook, right? So since I was doing this one, I could add multiple notebooks if that were relevant. But in this case, I'm going to pull in a notebook. So this is the little brain or the source files of everything about that. So you want to stay on point with brand every time. This is a great way to do that. The other piece, another little hack, is this is a very basic blog prompt, and it'll probably get you by. But we have this other little prompt thing that we found called Pretty Prompt. So pretty-prompt.com. We're not affiliated with them in any way, but I think it's pretty badass. So in this case, I put something super simple. I'm just going to hit my Pretty Prompt, and I don't even think I'm signed in. So this is just what the free version is doing, right? It's making me a really nice prompt, right? And if I say this looks really good, except for no, I want it 2,500 words, right? And then from there, just apply to Gemini. Boom. It got rid of that really janky prompt that I had in there. And now I've got a rockstar prompt, right? So I'm not going to hit the go button because we'll just move on. But I think those are some cool little features, right? You can make your prompts cool. You can pull your notebook in there. You got the ability, like I say, wherever you're at, if you're trying to figure out something techie, as me and Laura will be on a call, and I'll be saying, oh, I got to try to figure that out. She's like, well, yeah, ask Gemini. You got a little button right up there. So if you're into software, if you're in just about anything now, it can figure it out. It's like having a help desk at your fingertips, and it will put links in there. I mean, it will pretty much try to solve your problem no matter where you're at. It doesn't have to be that you're in Gemini, no matter what tab you're in. So it knows that I'm in this tab, but if I wanted to add some more of my tabs in there, I could. So any feedback before I jump out?
Amazing.
We're just going to keep watching it get stronger. And again, if your team is in Workspace, I'm glad that you covered the fact that everybody would have to be upgraded. So that is something that for all of us to keep in mind. But it is rolling out new features, including Google Labs. I know before we go over to Manus, I don't know whether anybody's been playing in Google Labs, but that just kind of gives you a little hint of what's coming. Mm-hmm. So that is labs.google.com. And there are many features that will blow you away. And sometimes it just gives you some rabbit holes, but it gives us a different way to look at what we're doing every day. And there's a lot of tools there that will strengthen our businesses.
Bingo. Yep.
100%.
That is a rabbit hole.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, Chris, do you have the complete brand guide?
It's ready. Yeah. So I finally finished. Yep. All right. So let me share my screen here. Okay. So I just simply went to Manus, and we've talked about Manus before, and it's gotten kind of to the wayside in my workflows just because I've been so deep into Claude AI. But we had a friend this week that showed us what I'm going to show you here today. I haven't tried it. This is literally trying it out. Right before this, just to see if it worked. I needed to do it anyways for me and my team. So anyways, here's the prompt. Create a brand guide for Roofer Marketing Heroes. That's my business. That includes colors, logo, font usage, and voice and tone. Here's our website. That's literally all I did. Okay. And it worked for a while, quite a while, right? Almost that entire 20 minutes, but it was working in the background on this. Okay. So let me get down to what it created. It created first this HTML document that was pretty darn spot on, right? And so we've got our foundation, logo, colors, typography, everything that it just simply pulled from our website here. Of course, it's going to have an error because I am looking at it. So we've got our logos, we've got our colors right here with our green and our black colors and everything, and deep navy, I guess, charcoal, and pretty much everything that you would need in order to create something that's on brand for us. Okay. Everything to typography, all the way down to colors of buttons and our brand voice and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's kind of cool what it created here, and goes all the way down into even visual language of what we should be using for photography, different types of imagery that we have on our website, and what to avoid. That's the other part, for anyone creating any kind of document, right? So I said, this is cool. Can you make that a downloadable PDF that I can add into any LLM? Right. So it a few minutes later, it created that, and it created this document here. Okay. Again, which is cool. It doesn't have all of the colors and all of the everything that it showed visually that I can see, but it's got everything that any LLM can use, like either Chat, GPT, or Gemini, or pretty much any of them, right?
Smart.
And it's got everything that it would need in order to keep everything on brand. Okay. So that was cool. The other thing that I told it to do is, well, how about what if we added, some links to our logos in there? Okay. So it did that and created this new brand guide for me that I can now download and upload. Right. So it added these right here. These are a primary logo size. And these are all web. It just literally took it directly from my website. So if I wanted to get a little bit fancier and I wanted it to use, a high resolution one, then I would probably add that in here and have an upload area to where it could go and download that, and so forth. Now, if you know me, I'm not really all that about brand kind of a thing, right? So this is actually very good, something that I can hand to my team in order to, produce anything that is completely on brand for us. All right. Honestly, would go directly into that. Oh, this is weird.
Into the rabbit hole. Where are we going? Where are you taking us?
Hello.
hello.
But we can basically take that and feed it into any LLM, out there. So I started working over here inside of Claude, right? And said, okay, well, I'm going to be working on my next workshop. I literally did this while Manus was working. I worked over here in Claude. Okay.
Oh, wait, you weren't listening to me, Chris?
I was kind of listening. Sorry. I'll go back and listen to it. Yeah.
That's right.
But anyways, I just told it, I want to work on our next workshop, how to build a Disney-like customer experience for roofing companies. Here's my document that I've been working outlining this entire thing. Let's work on the outline for this workshop. Okay. It had some questions. I answered the questions. It started on the outline, all that kind of stuff. Now, here is the live demonstration where I'm going to tell it to use that brand document. Let's see if it actually works. I might completely blow it up. I've never even created slide deck using Claude before. So let's see how this works. And I'm going to use WhisperFlow, and I'm going to talk directly to it just because it's a lot faster than me typing. Okay, great. Now create a brand new PowerPoint slide deck for me for this presentation using the brand guide that I just uploaded, and including everything that we've discussed here before. Please ask me any questions that you have. Okay, so there it is. Not even going to refine that prompt. Let's see what it does. I have no idea how long this is going to take. Never done this before, so I usually create all my PowerPoints by hand, but if I can do this from now on using our brand and how I want the look and feel, this speeds me up dramatically, because creating the slide deck for me takes me, I don't know, about a week beforehand to any kind of workshop in order to do that. I don't know if y'all are like that or not.
I have everything I need. Building it now.
Building it now. That's nice. All right. So while it's doing this, we could basically go on and work on pretty much anything else, including I could open up a whole different chat while it's working on this.
Right.
So
I think it's good too that you're showing that you can utilize the strength of one LLM and then pull it into another one.
well,
Absolutely.
another thing, as you were presenting the thing on Notebook, you could totally put this brain guide inside a Notebook too, right?
Absolutely, you could.
Yep.
And in fact, probably should. Anything that you're going to create documents with or any kind of anything for your brand, you should probably have this brand guide, right?
That's right.
Chris, would you say looking at that brain guide that it pulled in maybe suggest, do you feel like you received a deeper brain guide than, a one pager? I mean, or would you think that all those elements were there? It didn't really surprise you with anything that it pulled together?
So I'm not the brand person. Jen is more of the brand person, right? I'm more of the programming type. So I'm like, it's good enough. It's 80% there. So let's go with it. Um, I, as I was quickly scanning through that as a first go around, I think that it's good enough for me. And we'll see what it produces here.
Right. I was just a lot of our clients have maybe a one page. And so I was thinking if we ran that prompt, would they be able to pull again, like more
100%.
complementary colors or those things that if they would have worked directly with Jen, they would have automatically received if they
Right.
worked with a brain company. So that's what I was just wondering if it pulled together more, especially to your color palette or fonts that would work within as a suggestion. So I wasn't sure if anything caught your eye.
No, I think that it could totally do that. I mean, you should be able to create just about anything with this brand guide for your specific brand that you need to create. That's the whole point of it, right?
Yes.
That's right.
So Jen, would you have adjusted the prompt more to have a complete brand guide? I mean, because that was very impressive for the prompt that Chris dropped in.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I would have to take a closer look, but I think that to me, the visual part of the brand is like I've heard it described as the frosting on top of a
Yes.
cupcake. And so the cupcake itself is more of like it's like the messaging, the like, lots of things. But I want to make sure a brand guide has those things that they're really dialed in, and that's how you get the best visuals. But the visuals that I saw, like they're really freaking amazing, and so I don't know that I would suggest any improvements based on that because it was depends on what you're looking for, I guess, too.
True.
You know.
True.
Yeah, and if I were truly working on this, like, and not just being like, okay, this is good enough, I probably would spend a little bit more time. That's what I do with any of the programming stuff that I do. I spend a lot of time on the front end on things before I tell it to create anything for me, right? So
Right.
it's highly possible that instead of just throwing that into Manus just to see what it produced, right? Maybe we could have gone back and forth a few more times, a few more iterations. But for this purpose, I think it's pretty cool. I'm excited, honestly, to see what this actually spits out. As you can see, I
Yeah.
went ahead and expanded to see what it's working on right now. So it's working on the logo, replacing the logo, building the deck, view lines around 117, whatever that means, fix slide reference. I'm wondering if I could just like click on this and it would show me. Wow, that's cool.
Well, I
Yeah.
will
Nice
say,
HTML going.
just because we just, of course, demonstrated the Notebook LM slide, that would be the one thing that frustrated me at the moment is when I've used it. Even if I would have provided, when I provided my brand guide, when I provided my logos, all of a sudden it would still ignore that. And I had quite the variation by the time I went through 20 slides as to what it took Activation's original logo and how it just
Yeah.
made it its own. So that was very frustrating because it did have the assets, but went a little rogue.
Yeah. And that's how LLMs, all of the AI tools have really progressed. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I mean, they've really come a long way, right, in the past couple of years. I mean, think back to ChatGPT when it was first, when it first came out. It didn't even know what date it was, or it couldn't do a simple addition. And now it's on level for most of these. Like Sonnet 4.6 is pretty advanced compared to what it was, when it first came out. Like it's on level of almost human thought patterns, right? So it's pretty amazing, and hopefully it spits out something good here. Otherwise, we've just wasted all of our time. But just curious.
I like how John had mentioned that it was just like 6 months ago that like you try and do an image and any text on it was like it was just total typos, garbage. Yeah. So.
One of the reasons for that, I just learned recently on one of my drives and trying to learn things, tokens. So we've talked a little bit about it, not while we're waiting for this, I'll give a quick, but a token is about 3 or 4 characters. Like a token is the money side, the data side of AI. Everything's in tokens. We type something and that might be 100 tokens, 150 tokens our prompt. What Chris is doing right now is it's actually going through the prompt. It's doing this, it's iterating that. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of tokens being burned right now because it's actually spun up agents. It's doing its own work. It's thought of other ways to deal with it. And so as these models get better and better and better, what it is the fact that tokens are becoming faster and cheaper. They're down 230 times less cost than they were 2 years ago. With data centers and all of that kind of stuff. So that means it's Moore's law. Moore's law is just about, as every certain period of time, things get infinitely cheaper and infinitely faster. And is there a break, a moment where that infinite doesn't happen? Well, AI has blown everything out of the water in everything that it does, how fast it iterates, how fast it's growing, how fast we're adopting it, and how fast it's running to cheap, like the token value. So, what used to be 8,000 tokens of memory when you chatted to ChatGPT 2 years ago, and it had no clue what you had said 3 sentences ago or three prompts ago, it went to like 100,000. Now it's at 1 million context window, as they call it, tokens. So that means it can remember it's what it gave you and 1 million. The next one's going to be 10 million, right? And included in the same $20 plan, because it's a race to how cheap can the compute power be as they're building these bigger and bigger and bigger data centers, better and better and better and better chips. And everybody's in the race now, not just NVIDIA. So,
yeah,
100%. Yeah, and as you start working with any of these kinds of tools, you're going to notice, especially if you're on the cheaper plans, which I am on this one. I'm halfway wondering if this is going to kill my usage on this one, but because I don't really use Claude that much to do heavy lifting, right? I use a couple of other tools in order to do very heavy lifting type stuff. So when I first started using Claude Code and using Claude, you would run into these issues of that context window, and you have to work around them, unfortunately, or you have to wait, like you were talking about earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it is opening it up. Let's see what this looks
really
like
quick
here.
while it's thinking, just a super quick reminder for anyone watching or listening to subscribe, get notifications. We drop a new podcast episode every Friday. Friday? No.
Friday.
Every Friday. Yep.
I'm forgetting the dates now.
You're correct.
But like and subscribe. Get them while they're hot.
Yes. Sure.
And take a look at the show notes, because we opened up a community. We'll share a screenshot next time if you want, because we're going to run out of time today. But where's Take Action with Amy, which some of the prompts, some of the conversations, once we upload the episode, we'll be uploading the Take Action with Amy shortly thereafter into the show notes. So go to the replays and resources. You'll see a replay of the episode there as well. And you also get special privileges. So check the description below for access to the private community where you can ask us questions, give us suggestions for next episodes, and kind of just stay in the loop with the Amy crowd.
Who in the world is Amy? I do not see Amy on this show.
We are Amy. I am Sizer Kosei. No, we are Amy.
Yeah, marketing experts. I get it now.
That's pretty, Chris. Holy crap.
Looks good, Chris.
Yeah.
That looks
It
so
looks good. You know, I mean, I'm impressed. I wouldn't actually. So if I would have iterated a little bit more with Claude, I don't typically put this much information on slides, like, you know, all of these bullets and stuff like that. I typically have one specific thing, but I could easily go back and tell it, hey, you know, let's go with one idea per slide and cut out all the bullets, right? That's typically my style, but it's just because I didn't tell it my style.
You could probably even give it 2 or 3, like, so what I do when I do our podcast, I have about 8, what is it, Brad? I shared my template with you, 8, 10 very framework style slides that are just blank. Like, they just put a picture here, put words here in this font, this style, that our manual team builds into then. So that would be probably in here, say, hey, by the way, here's my 5 graphics of what my, a mix of these slides anywhere through. Use this style, mix them up, right? Kind of idea. Picture over here, words over here, blah, blah, and it would probably even be closer.
Right. Chris, can you go back to your output real quick, or when you're done with that?
Yeah. And before I do, I just wanted to show you, like we were talking about that content usage. You can go inside of Claude. At least I don't think that there is a way to view this inside of ChatGPT or Google, but you can go and see what your plan usage limits are, right? So I used up 16% of my 5-hour window inside of that right here. In my weekly, I use 3% total so far, right?
Sure.
Anyways, yeah, I was just curious of what that actually, you know, looked like there.
Right. And if when you're on your output area, when you've got your kind of finished product, what I thought was cool, where is it?
Let's go back down here.
Yeah, okay. So what I thought was cool is you can open it in PowerPoint or Drive. Do you see that?
Right.
So I would guess if you open it in PowerPoint, it's going to be editable PowerPoint.
Or if you open it in Drive, it's going to be editable there too. The only thing that it didn't do, I noticed, is it didn't drop my logo in here, right? But that's an easy thing to do. I was really hoping that it actually would do that. Who knows? By next week, it might be able to do something like that. And it's possible because it was a WebP. I don't know if y'all noticed that. It was a WebP version instead of like a JPEG or a PNG or something like that. You know, if it were one of those, it might have worked and actually put it in there. I don't know.
Right. And I would bet money that open in PowerPoint or open in Drive is going to be in Gemini just like that very soon.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
There's probably it makes sense. You could download to build that, dude. Take this and build it with the skill as a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Have it tear it apart.
Great demo.
Yeah.
Great demos today. Both of them.
Both you guys. Well done. So.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys. This was a really good walkthrough of both. Any kind of final thoughts that anyone wants to share before we say goodbye for the day?
I think we got a lot covered.
We did. Yeah. Okay.
The one thing I will say is that if a listener or a viewer says, I don't do presentations, think of it as a different way. It might be that you're looking at a long or heavy document or something that you want it presented differently. So again, you may not be standing on stage doing presentations or have a need to actually do slides for that purpose, but the slides is a great feature to take big chunks of information and break it down.
Hey, family, we want to go to, whatever, Disney. And here's why I want to go. And here's slide number 2, and just print them out.
I could totally see my 14-year-old daughter doing something like that. Yeah.
We ended up with a horse because
Dad, I need a pony. That's what I was just going to say.
Yes.
That's some good marketing to get you to get a horse.
Exactly.
That's right.
Pros and cons.
Yep. All right.
Awesome,
well, then
guys.
on that, we will wrap up and see everyone next week then.
Perfect.
Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.